Hello viewers, I'm Red2006 and I'm very pleased to have you join me on the latest leg of our scenic tour through the Johto region in Pokemon Gold version. As a quick recap on our last day's adventuring, on our excursion to the ruins of Alph, I got to play around with a sliding puzzle and in doing so, unleashed the unknown. I then set out along Route 32 to battle a range of different trainers. A good variety of opponents made the journey worthwhile. Right now, I'm taking a bit of time to relax by fishing. A peaceful place like Johto really is good for fishing. Let's give it a try. And we have a bite already. Much easier to catch Pokemon in this generation compared to the stupid mechanics in Ruby and Sapphire. We have Magikarp. It's all you can catch with the old rod, and they appear at level 10. Still not going to be able to damage you, but they are worthwhile. As we all know, evolving them into Gyarados gives you an absolute powerhouse. So we'll focus on that a little later on. For now, let's add it to the collection. And there we go. Magikarp, the fish Pokemon. An underpowered, pathetic Pokemon. It may jump high on rare occasions, but never more than 7 feet. You can tell this was written before they made Magikarp jump. Even then, Magikarp can still be a punching bag. So, with Magikarp in tow, I will have to get Wooper out of the Pokemon box. I nearly called it a Pokebox, which I suppose would make sense given the naming conventions in the series, but is not what I meant to say at all. Okay, so Wooper will be helpful, but I'm not sure exactly how well things will go. After all, we do have a couple of stronger Pokemon to face in Union Cave when it comes to battling trainers. So we might be able to sneak past this guy and run into a Pokemon. Ah, here we go, it's Sandshrew. A Pokemon I particularly like, but unfortunately not as good as far as ground types went in this generation. It didn't naturally learn any ground type moves until Generation 3, and I think that was Sandtomb. I'll just correct myself if I have to. It could learn them via TMs, but unfortunately it didn't have much going for us until later generations. Still, it's worth using if you do want a ground type you can grab early and you have a couple of TMs on hand. Without Earthquake, all it's going to get is Dig, which is a bit annoying. At least in this generation anyway. Sandshrew, the mouse Pokemon. If it fell from a great height, this Pokemon could save itself by rolling into a ball and bouncing. As I mentioned way back in episode 2, they're not actually mice, they're much closer to pangolins. So I'm going to switch Wooper to the front in order to battle this trainer and get a couple of levels into it. These trainers who use rock-type Pokemon, these hikers, will be the main issue because my team is not very well equipped to deal with ground types at the moment. Later on I will get a Pokemon who can deal with them with a little extra tweaking, and I do intend to catch a certain water-type Pokemon, but that will have to wait until after Morty's Gym. For now, Wooper will suffice. It's worth noting, I'm actually going to add the spotlight in now, or pretty close to now anyway. We've seen Geodude, and at the conclusion of this battle, I'm actually going to give you a rundown on the Geodude line, because Ruby is a starring party member, and I really do like this particular evolution line. One more to go and we should take it down fairly easily. I'll have to heal Wooper before we battle the other trainer because he has a level 11 Onyx. We could get past it, to be honest, but it would take a fair bit of chipping away. Onyx isn't that strong as far as attack power goes. It has great defense and reasonable speed for a rock type at base 70, but its major problem is its base HP of, I think it was 40, base attack of 45, didn't do it very many favours in the long run, so it was kind of intimidating when you first saw it. But sorry about that, just a minor glitch with the recording setup. Where are my potions? Threw me for a bit of a loop because it interrupted me mid-commentary. But now that's done and Wooper is healed, let's talk about the Geodude line for a while. As mentioned in the song What Kind of Pokemon Are You from the 2BA Master album, you can rock and roll with Geodude. It's a very dependable Pokemon. I've pushed it several times as the perfect friend to Chikorita in Generation 2, and it really is. The line is all about their physical attack and defense. They're naturally slow as rocks, but they will hit pretty hard early on and be able to tank most physical attacks. Keep them away from water and grass moves and you should be fine. They've been very recognisable and very prominent despite their simple designs. When people think of rock ground types, they tend to think of these guys. They've been in almost every regional Pokédex, barring Unova's, and they even turned up with an Alolan form. So you can generally depend on them if you want a good Pokemon through the early and mid game. Higher power grass and water moves can make their life difficult in the late game, and you will need to trade in order to evolve Graveler into Golem. But honestly, if you're looking for a physical force, you really can't go wrong. They have access to some fantastic moves and some pretty good abilities along the way. Give them a try and you really won't regret it. Graveler was the first shiny Pokemon I ever found. Level 54, and it thankfully didn't explode on me. I'm going to leave a little teaser at the end of this spotlight. Geodude is a very good counter to a particularly difficult Pokemon we will inevitably confront. So with that done, we can head up and battle this guy. Onyx at least gets to evolve into Steelix and become a lot more useful in this generation. I did have the shiny Onyx at one point. Shiny Steelix looks really, really cool. And yet it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but not with Wooper. It might seem intimidating, but really Onyx isn't going to be too much of a challenge if you can hit its weak points and come at it with a Pokemon that has fairly good defences. So there we go, we'll keep Wooper on hand just in case. But I don't think we'll need to use it very much. It will stay in the party because I will need someone with Surf before I catch the Water-type Pokemon I'm after. And here it is at last. It took me ages to try and find this last night. You will have seen that at the end of episode 4. I mean, who would think you'd have trouble finding a Zubat? Granted, for the reasons I mentioned in that video, it was trickier than I thought it was going to be. In the practice recordings, I stumbled across it very easily. So I thought, okay, this is actually commonly available. We should be able to catch it. And there we go. That wraps up pretty much every Pokemon we need to catch for now. Zubat, the bat Pokemon. While flying, it constantly emits ultrasonic waves from its mouth to check its surroundings. Can be worth using, but I'm not using it this time. So let's put Ruby back to the front of the party. The other trainers in here are fire breathers, for some reason. There's absolutely nothing to do with fire types here. However, this place is connected to the ocean underground. It mentions in the data in Heart Gold and Soul Silver that it has that particular connection, which explains the large number of underground lakes. The layout was also changed a little bit, so that an area you can access was reached via the top left corner rather than the bottom left. You will really want repels whenever you're going through a cave. I don't have any yet. But let's talk to this guy and battle. And we can't blame him. Everyone gets upset with Zubat's Supersonic. Fire Breather Bill leads with coughing. In this generation, you can safely use ground-type moves against coughing. Also note, when you battle Morty, you can use ground-type moves against his Pokemon too. One more to go. Coughing's probably going to pop up in the spotlight at some point because it is my favourite poison-type Pokemon, hands down. Also particularly fun to draw, especially when referencing its odd sprite in red and blue, where that skull and crossbones was actually above its face. Don't ask me why. Admittedly, some of the sprites in red and blue were hilariously off. But on we go through Union Cave. It looks much better in the remakes again, as pretty much everything else does. But again, it would be a very nice location. You have that connection. You know what, I'm going to stand still when I start talking about all these things. It has that connection to the ocean, which would make for a really beautiful location. Just some of these underground lakes would be fascinating. There'd be crystal clear water, interesting Pokemon habitats, all sorts of things. We can move on again. X-Attack might come in handy. That ladder there leads to the first basement floor. There's also an area to which you can surf, which leads to a separate section of the cave. Last night I could not find a Zubat to save my life. Now we're getting swarmed by them. And the weird circus-style music indicates that this is a Pokemaniac. They don't dress up as Pokemon in this generation. They look relatively normal. And here we meet Slowpoke, who will pop up a bit later on. I don't think it has any water-type moves at the moment, which is very fortunate. Fairly tanky though. Kind of makes me think of the Safari Zone in the first generation, and a record my brother managed to set. I think he managed to get somewhere near 30 rocks thrown at a Slowpoke before it finally got fed up and left. I don't know how he managed it. Maybe it got fed up after the first rock, but didn't notice until the 30th one hit. So we've defeated that, and before I was so rudely cut off, I was going to say we can head down here. Repels, people. Repels are your friend. And maybe getting a second of movement in between some of these. But here's the TM for Swift, which I'm going to teach to Dash. Fairly useful move, and he can also get Headbutt later on. which I will teach so that he has a bit of extra oomph. On the other side of this room is an item. You can't get anywhere without surf. You can just pick up these and head back out. Another X defense, something we can sell. Surf across there to get to the other part of Union Cave, and we are almost out. Those are always handy to have. At least it's not as bad as Generation 1, where waking up from sleep took a turn. That meant a fast enough Pokemon could abuse that. It was especially annoying to abuse status effects with Pokemon like Weepinbell and Victreebel. Put paralysis on an opponent and then spam Wrap. Because being free from Wrap took a turn and you couldn't do anything while you were being wrapped, it was very, very annoying and very difficult to get out of. One more opponent to battle and then we can make a dash for the exit. And as you can tell by the red clothes, another fire breather. And he actually has a fire-type Pokemon, Vulpix. You'll be able to catch that in Silver version. We can throw rocks at it to finish it off. And there we go. What is it with people shouting out the names of Pokemon attacks? We've had Splash and Flash. And we managed to get out of Union Cave without running into a Pokemon. I've just had a sudden realisation on seeing Hiker Anthony over there that I don't think I got Ralph's phone number back on Route 32. Well done me. Well, I'm going to wrap things up here, let you enjoy the short but nonetheless picturesque Route 33, and I will go and get Ralph's phone number off screen. I will see you back here. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next instalment of our scenic tour through the Johto region. I'd probably better put this in. The egg is hatching. So, you get Togepi, which again I'm not going to wind up using. It's generally worth it for Togekiss, not so much Togetic. Still, it can tag along for a little while.